as the pregnancy progressed, I did notice that my personality started to change as well. And I started to write lists. Became a little bit fanatical almost, and very inquisitive, and my nature changed in respect of that. I seemed to be aggressive, asking quite interrogating questions and things, so completely out of nature to the person that I am. And unbeknown to us at all this time, not only was my baby growing, but the tumour was growing as well. And it was doing so in the olfactory groove, which was affecting the sense of smell and heightening it. I did finally have my baby, and I say it finally because I did want a holistic birth. Having a water birth was the ideal vision I had, and hypnotherapy music playing in the background. Unfortunately, that didn't happen. After a 48-hour labour, I was rushed into hospital and had the C-section after being at a birthing centre. I did have 2 convulsions also during the labour, which the midwives had said to me is because I've been through such intense pain for so long, because up until that time I didn't have any drugs at all to ease the pain, and they were saying that the body is starting to become very tired and wanting to just rest basically. So this is what was the reason for these convulsions. I now, obviously in hindsight, realise it was a tumour as well starting to show. When I left the maternity hospital, I felt as if my whole mind and brain was shutting down. I was so delighted to see my baby, but I didn't enjoy it because I was just so weak and fatigued. And that night I went to bed thinking, I just got to feel better in the morning, I just have to. Unfortunately, the morning came and my husband went downstairs to get the breakfast, returned to find me with my head on my side, convulsing, rushed to hospital, and repeatedly having seizures. I ended up being diagnosed with a meningioma brain tumour, and basically the news of that was very shocking. This is me here holding my baby, and my baby's called Sophie, by the way, and had a little girl who's gorgeous. And from here, when I originally found out that I've got a tumour just a few days after having my baby, literally 4 days ago I had her, I just didn't want to hear that news. I just thought, this is impossible. I knew I've been poorly, I knew I've not been well, but nothing so dramatic as to having a brain tumour. And immediately I thought, am I going to die? Is this going to be the end of me? And I just was scared. I was really, really scared. And I thought, I have to get through this. And suddenly I had found this inner strength within me that I just knew I had to, no matter what, fight it and to get through this and be positive. I had to for my baby. And the main point here I want to share with you is having that sense of purpose, being able to focus on something far bigger than just yourself, was a very powerful thing for me to get through this. And I was very lucky I managed to stay strong for my baby and do that. I wasn't going to go in anywhere. The treatment itself, I had a blood transfusion because in the maternity hospital during labour I did lose a lot of blood, so they thought it was far better to give me that first. Then followed an embolisation and to cauterise the blood supply, and then I had resection surgery. So I was very pleased that the surgeon had said to me that he was confident that he could take out the whole of the tumour. However, because it was entwined in the olfactory groove, I would lose my sense of smell, which was a very small price to pay. And being a new mum, knowing that I had to change nappies, it was quite welcome in some ways. So I was also blessed because they didn't actually need to shave my hair, which I had been concerned about, and they just literally parted the hair and shaved just about an inch or so to do that. Everything went well with the surgery, and I started to feel so relieved, even just at the end of that day, thinking, it's over with, fantastic, I can get on with things now, start my recovery. That was until that evening. In that evening, my tongue started to swell, and I couldn't eat, and I was finding it hard to even drink things as well. The next morning, I woke up and my tongue was so large I could hardly swallow. I couldn't talk, and it was just literally locked out. My jaw was blocked, and it looked like somebody had stuffed something like a massive sock down my throat, and it was just awful. I was panicking, and I was more terrified then, and that was the lowest point ever, because the doctors had no idea what had happened and why my tongue had started to mysteriously swell like it had. They wondered if it was a reaction to the anti-epileptic drugs they'd put me on. They thought that it could have been something to do with the tube and the plastic and having a reaction to that during the operation the day before. What they decided to do was sedate me for about 3 days or so, in the hope that this swelling would reduce naturally by itself. And to do that, they had to retube with a plastic tube, which I was, a bit terrified about. I didn't actually know if I would get through this or wake up, but as before, all I did was hope and pray that I would do, and do everything in my power to make that happen. Luckily, it did go down, and we later found out, not from the hospital but from a dentist, because I had repeated problems with my tongue and my mouth, that I'd actually bitten through the main artery in my tongue, and that had caused it to swell. And then there was certain lesions. There was just one here. This is several weeks afterwards, but it was taking quite a long time to heal. And literally that little scaling area on my tongue fell off, and gradually that gap closed down, and it was fine. It did affect my taste as well for quite a lot of months. I literally had taste of medicines, and sometimes I felt like I'd eaten an ashtray of cigarette stubs, but I don't really understand why that happened, but fortunately for me now, my taste has recovered. Isn't quite what it was, but I can actually taste things as well. Leaving hospital was quite a big step actually for me. I wanted to leave in one way, because I thought, yes, getting home back to the environment I know would be much more relaxed, much easier to cope with, and to get better night's sleep as well than in a hospital. But in other ways I felt a little bit apprehensive, because I didn't have that hands-on care and the attention, and in terms of if something went wrong, there was somebody there quickly to help me. And one of the things I did notice is that there wasn't much guidelines as to what I should do and what shouldn't be doing after having this tumour. I wanted to heal as fast as possible, but I wasn't quite sure on how I should do that. Didn't know whether I should rest my brain, and at first I had no choice. I was just so tired and left hospital literally in a wheelchair with I was so weak I couldn't even hold my baby. And then should I really exercise my brain and to really stimulate it in order to kick-start it again? Because what I had noticed after the surgery is that there were certain things I couldn't remember. I did have memory loss, but also my words slurred, and I couldn't really string a sentence together either. I found it difficult cognitively to think my thoughts and then express them eloquently. It was quite hard and challenging to do that. Several weeks on as well, I felt like a 90-year-old woman. I hurt everywhere. It didn't seem to improve with my fatigue levels. I just was drained all the time, and I clearly needed further help. I asked the surgeon on the follow-up visit if I could get some more help, and he said basically he'll refer me on to the neuropsychologist, which I was delighted about. And she explained to me the process and the healing of the brain, and it enabled me to see things a little bit differently. The fatigue that I was feeling was really from the brain itself doing its automatic recovery mode. All the energy that would normally be used for me to walk about and do things was being used on my brain, repairing itself.